My name is Ashley Hart. I'm 24, and my mother is embarrassed because I work night shifts at a frozen food warehouse in small town in Virginia. I'm writing this to remember for the future, so I never forget the moment my mom decided my life wasn't worth bragging about. Have you ever sacrificed for your family and ended up being the one they're ashamed of? While my siblings studied for degrees and fancy careers, I stayed behind in Arlington, clocking in at the warehouse so we could keep the bills paid after my dad died. It wasn't a fancy job, but it was real work. I came home smelling like the warehouse, shoulders aching from lifting boxes, but at least the bills didn't bounce. To my mom, my steel-toe boots and hairnet meant failure. I still hear her voice from that family barbecue a couple years back, when relatives asked what I was doing with my life. She laughed and said, "Ashley's taking some time to find herself. She's working downtown." When I tried to explain I was working overtime to keep us afloat, she pulled me aside and hissed, "Why can't you be more like your siblings? This job is embarrassing." The humiliation, the anger, the way everyone's eyes slid off me like I was background noise. I told myself it was temporary, that if I kept my head down and worked hard enough, one day she'd see me differently. I had no idea that Mother's Day was coming, and with it, a text message that would finally break me and change everything. Before I tell you exactly what my mom wrote in that Mother's Day message, and what I did after that made me disappear from their lives, tell me, where you are right now, and where are you watching from? Mother's Day in Arlington always smelled like cut grass and cheap supermarket flowers. At the warehouse, it just smelled like garlic powder and cold metal. I was sitting in the break room, scrolling through my phone when my screen lit up with a notification. Family Heart Group Chat. My chest tightened for half a second. I imagined my mom sending, "Love you all, even you, Ashley." Instead, I opened the chat and saw a long, carefully worded message. Mother's Day dinner, successful kids. Only Richard, Dr. Hart, saving lives. Claire, our creative director, making the world beautiful. Rachel, our future lawyer. I'm so proud of my accomplished children. Dinner at 6:30. Can't wait to celebrate you. She tagged Richard, Claire, and Rachel. My name wasn't anywhere. Not in the message, not even in a pity heart at the end. Just 3 names, 3 golden children. I stared at the screen, waiting for someone to notice. For my mom to follow up with, "Oh, and Ashley too." For any of my siblings to type, "What about Ashley?" It never came. This wasn't a simple oversight. It was a public announcement. Successful kids only. The words blurred as tears came, and I read it again and again, each time like a punch in the ribs. I felt my throat close, that hot, humiliating sting I'd felt at the barbecue when she dodged the word warehouse. Except this time, she didn't dodge anything. She erased me. A moment later, my phone buzzed again. A notification from Mom. A video call. I watched it ring. I knew exactly what this would be. Her trying to explain the message, to tell me I was overreacting if I dared be hurt. I let it ring, and finally go to voicemail. She texted right after. "Hope you understand. Tonight is about celebrating achievements. You know you're always part of the family. Always part of the family. Just not proud enough to be seen." Have you ever watched your own mother type a sentence that proves you're just an embarrassment in her life story? I didn't answer. Not her text, not the call. I went back to the production line, but my hands moved on autopilot. In my head, something shattered, and something else, something colder, clicked into place. They had made it clear where I stood. I decided it was time to change my life. The day after Mother's Day, my alarm went off like always. I didn't wake up wondering how to make my mom proud. I woke up wondering why I'd given her power for so long. After my shift, I sat at my kitchen table in my studio apartment with a notebook and a pen. At the top of the page, I wrote 2 columns. Stay connected on the left, cut ties on the right. It felt dramatic, but I needed to see it in black and white. Under Stay Connected, I wrote holidays with family. Maybe one day she'll accept me. Not being the bad daughter. Undercut ties. No more humiliation. No more waiting for an invitation that never comes. Space to build a life on my terms. Peace. The right side filled up faster than the left. Still, my hand hovered over the page. Who cuts off their own mom over a text? My phone buzzed as messages filled the family chat. Photos from the Mother's Day dinner. Under one picture, my mom had commented, "My 3 shining stars." My siblings didn't seem to care. The problem apparently was me. I stared at their texts, then at my pro-con list, and felt something inside me snapped. I took screenshots and saved them, not to obsess over it, but as a reminder of why I made my decision. I muted the group. I opened Mom's number and hit block. I blocked Richard, Claire, and Rachel as well. That night, my friend Melinda came over with takeout. She noticed my red eyes, the open notebook, the locked screen on my phone. "What happened?" she asked, sitting across from me. I slid the notebook toward her. She read both columns, then looked up. "You already know your answer, Ashley. You wrote it." I whispered, "Would you cut off your own family if they never saw your worth? If they literally wrote you out of their life like a typo?" She didn't hesitate. "I'd cut off anyone who made me feel smaller on purpose, blood or not." In that moment, something settled. I picked up my pen and at the bottom of the right column wrote in all caps, "I choose myself." The next morning, I woke up with swollen eyes and a strange lightness in my chest. For the first time, family was a choice, and I had finally made one. My life got quieter. Not empty, just quieter. No more constant alerts of family occasions I was excluded from. I heard my own thoughts. I focused more at the warehouse, not to prove anything to my mom this time, but to prove something to myself. When my manager, Rachel, mentioned that the company would reimburse part of the tuition for technical courses, I didn't brush it off like I usually did. I signed up for night classes at Arlington Technical College, industrial safety, process improvement, basic engineering concepts. If I was just a warehouse worker, I'd be the kind who knew every inch of the line. Melinda joined me for one of the classes, and we became those annoying people who sat in the front row, asking questions and sharing notes. We'd grab coffee, laugh about how we were too tired to be this ambitious. But inside, something new grew. A quiet pride that had nothing to do with a framed degree, and everything to do with choosing my path. One evening, I was rushing into the building, a stack of worksheets in my arms, when I heard a familiar voice behind me. "Ashley." It was hesitant. I stopped. I turned around and saw Rachel standing by the bulletin board, clutching a backpack. Her hair was pulled into a messy bun, and she was wearing a college hoodie. For a second, it felt like I'd been punched and hugged at the same time. "Rachel," I managed. She nodded, eyes wide. "I didn't know you were taking classes here." I swallowed. "I didn't know you were either." Silence stretched. Then she blurted, "Mom doesn't know I signed up for this program. She thinks I'm just sticking to law school stuff, but I wanted to see what else was out there." There it was, a crack in the perfect image. We sat on a bench, knees almost touching. "I saw the Mother's Day message," she said quietly. I wanted to say something, but Richard told me not to stir things up. "I'm sorry, Ashley." Her apology hit harder than my mom's text. "It wasn't your job to fix it," I said, even as part of me wished she'd tried. Rachel twisted the strap of her bag. "Mom's been weird since then. She acts like everything's fine, but she keeps bringing you up. Not in a good way. More like she's mad at you for ignoring us and saying you overreacted. She's embarrassed, but she'd never admit it." Rachel gave me a sad smile. "She cares in her own messed up way. She just can't handle that you chose something she doesn't respect. And now people at church keep asking why you're never around. She hates not having an answer that makes her look good." There it was, the first sign of consequences. My quiet disappearance was messing with her carefully narrated story. Rachel took a breath. I miss you, but I also get why you did what you did. You know you don't have to repeat her cycle, right? You can choose what you want, even if it's not fancy enough for the group chat. She nodded. Are you ever coming back to family celebrations? I don't know, Rachel. Right now, I need distance more than I need a seat at that table. Before we parted ways, Rachel squeezed my hand. For what it's worth, I think what you're doing is brave. My mom's choice had started a chain reaction she couldn't control. It was starting to affect the loyalty of the others. I wondered, when you finally start succeeding on your own terms, would you go back to the people who called your path worthless? Or keep walking without looking over your shoulder? My promotion came on a random Monday. Rachel called me into her office and said, Ashley, you've been running circles around half the people here. I want you as a line supervisor on the new frozen meals project. More pay, more responsibility. You in? I was stunned. A year ago, I would have bragged to family. Now I just thought, I did this. I accepted the promotion. The new role was hectic, scheduling shifts, handling breakdowns, smoothing out team conflicts. But it gave me authority. People trusted and respected me. I'd been in the trenches with them. Still, late at night, old doubts crept in. Without thinking, I would unlock my phone and hover over my mom's contact, even though it was blocked. Or I'd scroll past photos of my siblings' achievements shared by mutual acquaintances. My stomach twisted every time I saw a post about, so proud of my kids with 3 smiling faces and a mysterious invisible fourth. One weekend, after a particularly weird spiral of stalking social media and cursing myself for caring, I opened the Notes app on my phone and started typing. At first, it was just a rant about blue-collar work and how people like my mom treated it like failure. But the more I wrote, the more it turned into something bigger. By the time I finished, I had a long, raw piece about dignity, class, and how families weaponize success. On impulse, I copied it into an anonymous blog on a platform Melinda had told me about. I hit publish before I could talk myself out of it, titled it, Successful Kids Only, When Your Family Invites Everyone But You. I didn't put my name. I didn't mention specific cities, but I did describe the group chat. The exact line, Mother's Day dinner, successful kids only. I described the feeling of watching your name go missing from your own mother's sentence. I asked right there in the middle of the post, does your self-worth depend on the people who refuse to see it, or can you learn to build it anyway? I expected maybe 3 people to read it. Instead, within a week, it had thousands of views. Comments poured in from strangers. I thought I was the only one. My mom did something similar when I became a mechanic. Cutting contact saved my life. The validation from people who didn't know me hid in a way my mom's silence never could. Melinda found the blog and messaged me. This is you, isn't it? I'm proud of you for telling the truth. Then something interesting happened. One of my mom's church friends, someone I still had on social media, shared the article on her page with the caption, "This broke my heart. Parents, don't do this to your kids." The next day, another mutual shared it. The story was traveling in the same circles my mom moved in, and she had no idea she was the villain. Or maybe she did. Because a few days later, an unknown number called my phone. I let it go to voicemail. Later, I listened. It was my mom's voice, strained and tight. Ashley, it's Mom. I heard this story going around online. People keep sending it to me saying it sounds familiar. I hope you're not involved in anything that makes our family look bad. We need to talk. Call me back. Not, are you okay? Not, did I hurt you? Just concerned about how she looked. I didn't call her back. I saved the voicemail, though. Another receipt. As the blog continued to circulate, Rachel pulled me aside at work one day. Hey, random question, she said. I read this post about someone whose mom excluded them from a Mother's Day dinner. The author sounded a lot like you. I felt my cheeks heat. Maybe, I said carefully. She smiled. If it was you, you should know it was powerful. And anyone who can lead on the line and write like that, you're going places, Hart. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. That night, I printed my blog post and the pro-con list from months before. I put them in a folder labeled Proof I'm Not Crazy. When the doubts came, I opened it and reminded myself I had the right to define my worth. My mom could lose sleep over public perception if she wanted. I was done losing sleep over her approval. The community event invitation came through Melinda. "They're doing a storytelling night downtown," she said, waving a flyer in my face during our lunch break. "Theme is when family crosses the line. You have to do it." "Absolutely not," I said through a mouthful of sandwich. "It's one thing to write anonymously. It's another to stand on a stage and tell everyone my mom's worst moment." Melinda grinned. "Or your strongest. Think about all the people who commented on your blog. What if they were in that room? You could be the reason someone finally walks away from a toxic situation." The idea burrowed into my brain and refused to leave. A week later, my name was on the event lineup. The night of the storytelling event, my hand shook so badly I almost dropped the mic. The room was a mix of strangers, some in hoodies, some in business casual, some with tear-streaked makeup like they'd already heard something that hit too close. I cleared my throat and started with the line I knew would land. My mom called me embarrassing because I chose warehouse work. A murmur swept through the room. I told them about the barbecue, the dodged explanations, the Mother's Day text. I recited the exact words, watching faces flinch at "successful kids only." I talked about the pro-con list, the blocked numbers, the blog, the voicemail where my mom was more worried about her reputation than my heart. In the middle, I paused and asked the question that had once broken me. Have you ever looked at your own family and realized you're only loved on their terms? That their love disappears the moment you stop making them look good? Dozens of people nodded. A few wiped tears. It was like breathing underwater my whole life and suddenly hitting air. I ended with this. I used to believe that I owed the family a debt. Now I know something else. I can love where I come from and still walk away from the parts that are strangling me. When I stepped off stage, people hugged me, thanked me, told me pieces of their own stories. One woman whispered, "I screenshotted my mom's text the day she uninvited me from Christmas. Hearing you say it out loud, I think I can finally stop feeling guilty." On the bus home, I scrolled through my phone and my heart stuttered. My blog post had been shared by a bigger page, someone with hundreds of thousands of followers, along with a caption, "The successful kids-only mom is why so many of us are in therapy." The comments were a war zone, but most were on the side of kids like me. Buried down the comment thread, I saw a familiar name, Rachel Hart. She had written, "Sometimes the successful kids are just the ones who learned how to perform. The others are just trying to survive." I stared at her comment, feeling both proud and protective. Later that week, Rachel texted me directly. "Saw your talk on someone's story. It was you, right?" I confirmed. After a long pause, she replied, "Mom saw it too. She's not handling it well. People at church are talking. She says you're airing family business." Knowing my story had broken her perfect facade should have felt like revenge. Instead, it felt like balance. Actions meet consequences. As I lay in bed, I realized I had built a new family. People from work, from class, from that event who saw me. No degrees, no titles, just me. Maybe family didn't have to mean shared DNA. Maybe it could mean shared survival. Where have you found your chosen family? The people who made you feel loved and respected. A few years slipped by. I moved up again at the warehouse, this time into a role that had me traveling between plants, helping other supervisors fix their lines and train their teams. I had an old company laptop, a suitcase that stayed half-packed, and a calendar that didn't revolve around family. My phone contacts list got shorter, but my world got bigger. I kept writing, too. The blog that had started as a late-night rant turned into a place where people checked in regularly. I posted about boundaries, about the weird guilt that comes with saying no to your parents, about blue-collar pride. Sometimes I wrote about small moments at work that would have meant nothing to my mom, but meant everything to me. Like the day a new hire told me, "You are the first boss I ever liked because you didn't talk down to me." I found out from friends that my mom had not let the story go. The post, the talk, the way people online latched on to the phrase, "successful kids only." She hated that there was a whole corner of the internet where she was a character and not the author. She changed churches for a while, then went back. She complained that people were judging her, that they did not understand what it was like to raise kids these days. She did not, as far as I knew, ever say to them, "I hurt my daughter, and I am trying to make it right." Then life did what it always does. It added more pressure. My mom had health issues, the kind people whisper about in grocery store aisles. High blood pressure, stress, time off work, bills stacking up. The house I grew up in needed repairs. At first, I heard about it in pieces from Rachel, almost apologetically, like she did not want me to think she was using our relationship to pass messages. Then, one night, while I was sitting on my couch with my suitcase half packed for another trip, she called with that voice that meant something big had happened. "Mom wants your number," she said. "She says she needs to talk to you." I could hear from the way she said it that this was not about feelings. I asked why, even though I already knew. Rachel sighed. "She is behind on payments. The roof is leaking. The hospital bill's high. She heard you are doing well now, traveling for work, maybe speaking at events. She keeps saying if Ashley really cared about family, she would step up." My mom wouldn't admit she did anything wrong. She told anyone who would listen that I abandoned her, never mentioning all the years I paid the bills after my father died, while all the golden children went to college and pursued fancy careers. She would never take responsibility for what she did to me. She didn't miss me. She needed me. I wished her well but refused to help. She had 3 other children to do that now. She blamed me for the blog and story that made her look bad, exactly what she's done to me. For the church people whispering about her. In her eyes, she had done no wrong. I didn't help, I didn't go back. Even Rachel said, "You owe her nothing." She is suffering from the consequences of her choices. She still has 3 kids who show up for her. She has her friends, her church group. She sent me a letter blaming me for her situation, not accepting any blame for her behavior. She almost ruined my life. I could not go back to that. I still miss the mother I remember from her when I was young. But I don't miss the mother who humiliated me. I closed the chapter with a blog post. Sometimes, the kindest thing you can do for yourself and for them is to step out of a role that was destroying you. Love does not always mean access. Forgiveness does not always mean reunion. Family should not be built on humiliation and fear, but on respect and choice. And you are allowed to build a new definition of family with people who do not need you to bleed to prove your loyalty. Life carrier on with work, my steel-toed boots, and friends and coworkers. After hearing my story, do you think I did the right thing? Or would you have returned to help and once again be disrespected and humiliated? Write in the comments and let me know. Like and subscribe to the channel if you'd like to hear more real-life stories like this.